Wow.
You're underway.
I can say.
Yeah, right on. So we're joined by the famous Kellie Emmerson, incredible athlete that she is. I would like you, Kellie, if it's okay, if you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I'm Kellie. I'm obviously an ultra runner, but I'm also a coach and an occupational therapist and a PhD student and a body pump instructor and a few other things. Yeah.
And you're about to be a mum, as if the list wasn't long enough.
And I'm about to be a mum. Yeah, that's probably the scariest one.
You're already a dog mum though, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so this already goes into one of the questions that I had for you. I reckon we'll start here. So how do you, actually first I'm just going to explain. I don't have a slight look of disdain for whatever Kellie's saying. I have just been at the dentist and so half of my face is numb. So if there's any weird facial stuff going on, it's nothing to do with what's being said.
Yeah, she's going to start dribbling. Well, who books a dentist
worried.
appointment?
I know, I didn't even think about it. And I was like lying there like, oh no, I've got to talk to Kellie.
A few years ago, I was working in neuro rehab with stroke clients, and one thing, I came back to work and half of my face was numb, and I had to go work with my stroke clients who actually generally had numb faces.
I wondered actually if this was something that you would have experience with. And yeah.
She's kind of like a stroke client, just in the mouth area. At the moment.
They have to roll with it. I'm going to roll with it too.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway,
day drinking.
Back to Kellie. Enough about my my experience. So Kellie, how do you balance everything? So you work, you're a coach, you're a wife, you're a dog mum and soon to be mum. Like how do you manage to fit it all in?
Yeah, look, I guess it's pretty challenging and I'm pretty busy. But the main thing is just being organised and having a schedule and some routine. I guess with COVID and everything, that routine's been thrown out of whack. So
yeah,
it's been a lot different to get used to, but it's actually working in my favour too because it's forced me to slow down a little bit, which I probably needed. Influence to do. So I think often sleep is probably the first to go, which is not what I would recommend to all my athletes and everyone else. But in the past, that's just the only way I've got around it. But I like to think I'm being a bit smarter about things now.
So how many years have you been on the running scene? I'm
terrible with dates. I reckon it's been at least 10 years now.
Yeah.
But I'd have to look back.
Did you make any rookie errors at the start? Like with experience, what sort of stuff would you say to people starting out?
Look, I think I increased distance and things fairly gradually.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any major mistakes that I made. I think I did strength training along the way, and I listened to other people for advice, and I had different mentors and groups that I ran with along the way. The main thing is probably, when you first transition to the trails, it's getting used to a different style of running, and you fall over a lot and things like that initially. So it's being aware that those sort of things happen.
Yeah.
Do you think that you've got some sort of a genetic advantage that made you a good runner, or do you think it was just sort of patience and hard work?
Look, I think it's probably a little bit of everything. I've always done a lot of sport growing up. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to play netball and basketball and tennis and do roller skating and all sorts of things. I didn't really run until quite late. I was lucky enough to grow up having lots of opportunities to be fit and active. But I think transitioning to the ultra side of things, lots of it is up here, and I think lots of that is ingrained. Yeah.
Talk me through just sort of briefly your pathway. What do you think it was about your training that made you excel? Was it, like sheer volume? Was it, just time? How did you get to be good?
That's a very good question. I think the number one thing is dedication and determination. For me, everything that I do in life, I've always been trying to be better. And, I've made the time and commitment to putting in the effort to do things. I did an interview with Sam Maffett the other day, and, we were talking about, one of his questions was, what do you like to coach? And, did you often miss sessions and things like that? And I can honestly say I didn't really miss many sessions. I'd find a way to get things done. So yeah, I think it's that commitment and being able to push through the pain barrier a little bit as well. I've got lots of friends or athletes that I coach who, struggle to get past that point. So it's learning to, once you can push past a certain point where it's uncomfortable, you can keep going, and then you feel good, and then it spurs you on to do more.
So I think that kind of conversation leads in well to one of the questions that I have for you, and it's how competitive are you? Because I've followed your races, like UTMB, that was epic. Like you could the tracking of you, and you could see like there's people ahead of you and you're clearly hunting them down. Like it was like Kellie's got, like I can just, like watching the tracker, I'm like, she is a woman on a mission. She is like, she's mean and she's going for them. So yeah, it shows in the way that you finish your races. Like if there's anyone ahead of you, they don't stand a chance. So how competitive are you, Kellie?
I'm pretty competitive, yeah. And I always have been, I've always, probably even before running, going to the gym and doing a boxing class, I was always paired up with the blokes. I remember I started teaching at a Fernwood gym, and one day I decided to stay after my class, teaching pump, to do their boxing class, and lots of the women were a little bit afraid of me.
I think the same probably applies to running too.
And, I think I learned from my early successes, I learned that it's really not over till it's over. And that just helped spark me a little bit more. I remember Tesco Century, probably the first or second year that I won it. I was going really well, and then Amy Lamprette passed me probably around the 60K mark. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was it. And I, for the next 20 Ks, it was talking to myself about how it didn't matter, that I was quite happy with second, and how, I didn't need the money anyway, and I didn't need that trip to New Caledonia, and, it was fine. And I accepted that. And then all of a sudden I saw her ahead of me with 13 Ks to go. And I was like, oh, maybe I do want that money. Or maybe I do want to win. And it suddenly changed. And I was, and I knew the course really well. And mm-hmm. I was able to finish really strong and come home for the win. So I think that experience then made me realise in every subsequent race that even if I was having a shitty day, that I actually had more in me than I realised. And a race such as the UTMB back in 2017, I was able to hunt people down, and I was able to chase them, and I somehow was able to run at ridiculous pace with a kilometre to go after running for 28 hours. It's just, you learn a lot of things about yourself in these races.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happens when you get on Amy's shoulder. Is there a conversation?
I can't remember that day. I remember she was at the top of the hill and I was at the bottom, and I've got this really annoying cough, right? That's just always there. And so people always know when I'm sneaking up behind them. So I was like doing my best to not make any noise. I think I gave her some words of encouragement as I ran past and said, see you later.
Right. Yeah. You often wonder, because in those moments, you're competing physically at that time, but you've got a chance to chuck a spanner in there, in the skunk works. If you get the opportunity, you can verbally throw something out there just to derail them a little bit, or and usually most runners are like, oh, you're looking great, we might catch up later, something like that. But at the same time, those competitive athletes all Quite often, you've seen it or heard it, like, oh, maybe you went out a bit hard or something like that, just to give them a rattle.
I can't say I've ever done that. I think I've always been trying to be pretty nice about it.
Wow.
That's more Kerry style, I bet.
Far out. I would kneecap him on the way past if I had a chance. Not Amy. Amy's lovely, actually. No, fair.
Okay, so following on from that then, achievement-wise, what are you most proud of?
Yeah, it's always a hard question because there's a lot in there. But I think I'm most proud of being able to, run at an international level and do well. Winning UTA Australia was obviously really exciting. Being back, being able to win one of the UTWT races in my country. But yeah, being able to put myself against the best around the world is pretty special as well. And even though you don't achieve as well on the platform, of maybe being in the top, on the podium is what I meant. I think it means more to be against the best.
Yeah. Thinking about it, so Surf Coast is a really quite a good runners flat kind of runnable course, and then UTMB is total opposite, mountainous, totally mountainous. So what do you think, what's your style? Are you really a total all-rounder, or what's your favorite, or where do you think your strengths are?
I think my strengths are in my speed, but it's that getting back to that determination as well and being able to get through pain. So I like to think that I'm a fairly good all-rounder. With Surf Coast, for example, the first year I ran it, I had a lot of speed, but I didn't have any hill legs. And so for the following year, I focused a lot more on hills, and that's when I was able to, speed up a bit and actually be stronger. And, it's been about adding in the specificity of hiking and hills to my training to be stronger at that. I think I can hike pretty well, but I see my weakness as running hills generally. So finding a balance between that.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of athlete questions.
I've got a lot of questions. No, there's more.
I'm keen to get into.
Okay. You go for it then.
Kelly, Coach Kellie.
Go on then. You ask Kellie.
Okay, cool. We were just on athlete style, but what would you describe your coaching style as?
Yeah, so I guess I'd describe my coaching style as very holistic. So as an occupational therapist, we look at all aspects of someone's life, and how they fit into society and how they engage and participate in all of the things that they want to do. And so I think I bring a lot of that OT knowledge to my coaching. It's very much about, looking at the whole person and not just about getting them to be a better runner, but how are they going to be a better runner in considering all the rest of their life stresses and, taking all of that into account and being realistic about things.
Yeah. You've actually got some qualifications supporting you in that holistic approach, whereas generally you'll find coaches, even qualified coaches, are qualified for assigning work, and will wax lyrical about holistic approaches, but probably have no real qualifications to talk, diet, often injury prevention, intervention and recovery, and those sorts of things. So I guess you're in a situation where you can bring to the table stuff outside of that sort of center sphere, the target of the dartboard of just assigning work, right?
Yeah, I like to think so. Yeah.
Quite a rare find.
I've been asking all the guys, and I'll ask you as well. What do you think, coaching, science or an art, or what?
I'm always very science based.
Yeah,
that's my background. But in saying that, it's not always about the numbers, and that's where the holistic approach comes back into it. It's not just about assigning scientific numbers and power meters and all that sort of stuff. I think it's important to look at the rest of the person.
This is interesting, given that you haven't watched the other interviews or listened to them. Science versus art. What do you think was Dave Byrne's answer?
He would have said science for sure.
Oh, he was art. What about Maddie?
I would have thought science.
Art. What about Andy Dubois?
Who?
Andy Dubois.
Surely science.
Surely science. You got it. It's fun. This is interesting because it's coaches on coaches in this situation, right? I'm surprised you got a couple of wrong there, but we'll move on to the next round.
Yeah, I was really surprised by Dave, but it was nice to hear. I mean, it's interesting to learn more about people as coaches and to kind of hear. Because often we don't, like, that was the whole purpose, right, for the Trail and Ultra Coaches Corner, was to have other coaches that you share or debate with and all that sort of stuff, have more of a collegiality going on. So it's been really cool having these conversations.
Yeah, there's certainly no right or wrong, actually, to be honest. There's there's merit obviously in all approaches, and it's just they just, I guess, lean that way, and I really appreciate those coaches that have that good feel for what's required. Those are the ones that are intuitively know, whereas I feel I have to run off to the calculator or textbooks to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And I think too, like the people that want to be coached will seek out what gels with them or resonates with them. So if they want more of a science approach, or they'll get the style that works for them.
Yeah, 100%. And if I am approached by someone who I don't think is going to be a right fit, then I'll be honest about that right up front, because it needs to mesh well. You need to be on the same page.
Yeah, that was another one of my questions. What traits do you look for in your clients?
Oh, I wouldn't say I look for any particular traits, but if someone is very numbers based and very, spreadsheets and this and that, then potentially they're not for me. So, I like working with all sorts of people, but I like working with those people that are, busy and have busy family lives and trying to help them, find some time for themselves to be able to achieve something that they want for themselves.
Cool. All right, this is this is an in-depth one. So, where did you go? So, like, obviously, at the moment you're pregnant. Like, how many weeks pregnant are you at the moment?
24.
Ooh, cool. Where did you go for your advice or info about trying to or training through pregnancy, and then also considerations for women who have given birth? So I feel like this is an area that there's still not heaps of information out there, or not, it's not super clear. So yeah, I'd love to hear where you've sought that, or what your feelings are around it all.
Yeah, sure. I've just come from the Women's Health Physio actually as well.
Cool.
Yeah, look, it's a really challenging one. I felt, especially when I first found out I was pregnant, because you're sort of trying to keep it a bit of a secret until you know that everything's okay. You feel really alone, and it's so hard to know who to approach and how to find out information whilst you're trying to keep this secret. So I found that really difficult. I initially went to my GP, and who's been my GP my entire life, and I said, what am I allowed to do? Oh, you can go for short runs. Define short, because I just got back from the Great Ocean Road and I ran an 80K weekend. Oh, well, you can go for 5K jogs 2 times a week. That's not really going to do it for me. And he admitted that he was very old school, and he gave me a few options for different obstetricians, and I did my research, and I found a female obstetrician who had done a little bit of research into exercise, and she herself ran up until about 36 weeks. So, I did definitely try and seek out the information that I wanted, but I felt that she was qualified to do that. And other than that, it was trying to take the advice of different friends and professional friends about I've got a friend who is a women's health physio, and I had a good conversation with her. And I've got another friend who is a doctor, and she sent me a whole heap of different research articles. So it was just trying to do some different reading. And, I can't say that I'm still 100% confident about what I should be doing, but it's just trying to get as much knowledge as I can and actually listen to my body. It's really interesting as an ultra runner when you're used to pushing through absolutely everything. You can push through everything. But all of a sudden going, actually, no, I need to be really in tune and actually listen to every little thing that's going on with my body. So, right now, I guess I'm still trying to run a little bit, probably 3 times a week, trying to do so many back-to-back runs, and then mixing it up with riding and less impact stuff. But it's really interesting because the physios, like this morning, I saw the pelvic floor physio.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one she's very clinical, and she, whilst my pelvic floor is really strong, she's happy with that. She wants me to avoid any impact exercise, so she doesn't really want me to run. But I have joined an antenatal class by another physio at the same clinic, and she happened to be there today, so I went and saw her afterwards. And she had a completely different approach, and she sort of said, "Look, if you're feeling okay, you're doing this and that and listening, then I'm totally fine with you running still." So it's really interesting that there's just so many different opinions out there, and it makes it really hard to make a decision on how to approach things. But I think it's just listening to your body and trying not to overdo it, and knowing that a few months break or going a bit less intense now is going to probably save me later in terms of being able to come back and be able to race. So.
Yeah, I guess as an athlete, you're always applying some overload stress to induce a bit of fatigue that spurs on that adaptation and the progress, and so you're always balancing that loading and fatigue sensation. How different is it having a massive parasite in that regard?
Yeah, it's really different because you're used to pushing the limits all the time, so all of a sudden you're not getting the endorphins and the adrenaline that brings. So I guess I'm just trying to use the time to focus on other things. I've been able to finish my PhD, or hopefully submit that next week. And
wow,
well done,
nice.
So yeah, there's lots of it's come at a good time, and it's still. I jumped on Zwift yesterday, and Tegan was there, and I said, "Oh, what course should I do today?" And I said, "Don't do anything too hilly." So he pressed it. He chose my course, and after saying nothing too hilly, I did some epic King of the Mountain instead. Thank you, Tegan.
That sounds
yep,
typical.
Yeah, familiar with those missions.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I got to the top of the mountain. He said, "Oh, you can't turn back now. You have to do the bonus climb." I said, "No, I'm fine." It automatically took me to the bonus climb. So an hour later and 600 meters of climbing, and just said,
cheers, Tex.
Yeah. So there's a future of that for you as well. Obviously, there's the time crunch now, but looking ahead in a few months' time, you've got fur babies. Tegs is a big baby, and you'll actually have a baby. You're going to be juggling, eh? What do you think in that priority list? Surely, recreational sport has got to come down the bottom there, right?
I would like to think that it doesn't come down the bottom. I look at my mum, for example, who was, active and played netball and did a few things before she had us, and then she put it all on hold. She didn't look after herself, until we were adults. I don't think that's necessarily healthy, and I think it's really important to make time for ourselves and be able to do something for ourselves. So, whilst it's not going to be my first priority, I'm accepting of that. I'd like to think that we can make it work, and Tegs is really supportive in trying to make that happen. He bought me the smart trainer and the bike to allow me to exercise now. So it will be a massive juggle, but I like to think that we can make it work somehow. It's really interesting when when I speak to non-running friends or my work friends, and they keep telling me that You know, oh, I won't be able to travel anymore, and I won't be able to do this, and I won't be able to do that. And, you know, I like to think that I've got other people out there that I can rely on and see who handle it in a more positive way.
Yeah. Well, I think Roger and Hayley do a great job of doing exactly what you're talking about, you know, like having a baby and having the balance between both of their training and adventures and travel and that sort of thing.
Tom and Alina.
Yeah, there's a lot of like pretty epic couples with children that are in our sport. So it's, I think, keep looking to those sort of people. And
Well, I mean, we would like to bring a child up that is adventurous and does get to do all those things as well with us. So, you know, it might not always be running, it might be more hiking and, you know, doing other things. But you know, finding ways to make that lifestyle continue.
Yeah, that's cool. So on that note then, like, what are your hopes for future running? Oh, actually, first of all, like, were you planning this or was it like a surprise? Yeah, because it must have been hard. Like, you've had all these races lined up and commitments and stuff, and then kind of like, but I also want my life to continue.
Yeah. So yeah, really good question. And it was really challenging to figure that out. So you know, I had a really decent break after mountain running world camps last year, and we kind of waited until the Western States lottery, and I didn't get in. So we're like, well, maybe it's fun. And then I was lucky enough to get an entry through the Ultra Trail World Tour, which I did not expect because I'd tried before and it hadn't happened. So yeah, finally got an entry. And so I was, you know, I was straight into training. I was like, this is going to be the best year ever. I'm going to, you know, this is my race. I'm going to do really well. And 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. At the time, you know, it was really challenging mentally because you know, that you've been aiming for many years. You get the opportunity, and then there's something in the way that is also so exciting and you know, the best thing ever. Yeah. You know, it was a bit of a challenge, but you know, obviously I was really stoked and also happy that Western States have a pregnancy deferral. So
Cool.
well, in the end, thank you, COVID. Anything, and I was able to defer before they cancelled, and so I've got up to 3 weeks to get back to that race. So that will be the aim.
Cool. So that'll be the motivation once you've had baby to work towards that. That's a pretty epic turnaround. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I don't have to do it next year, and I don't think that's realistic. So I've got up to 3 years to.
Oh, great! That's good. That takes the pressure off a bit. Kerry, did you have a question?
I do. Tell me a little bit about up coaching and your relationship with up coaching and how all of this works.
Yeah, sure. So I've been coaching with Up Coaching, who's run by Brendan Davies in New South Wales. I've been coaching with them, I don't actually know how many years now. Quite a few. So I was coached by him for a long time, and he needed a Melbourne coach, and I had been coaching for a 2xU group. Probably started that maybe 8 to 10 years ago. And so that was just a group, but that evolved over time, and I moved workplaces. It was quite a fair way from where that group was run, and so I had to sort of say goodbye to them. But they still to this day meet every Saturday. It's really nice that we sort of built this community that has stuck together. And I really enjoyed doing that. And so I guess the next step up for me was taking on individual clients as well as a new group. And it's been I cut a day at work to be a bit more flexible with that. And well, initially that was meant to be my PhD writing day, and then I started taking on more clients because it was more fun. But it's really nice. I've got people from both ends of the spectrum, from those who are just trying to beat cutoffs to those who are more at the pointy end, and it's really nice having that balance between really a different range of clients. And
cool.
Tell us about the racing scene? What are the in Australasia? Obviously, you've attended a lot in what has been like a decade of training and racing.
Yep.
Some of the favourites races you'd recommend for other people to check out. What do you think? What's good out there
within Australasia?
Yeah, let's start. Well, I mean, most of the people that are going to listen to this are they're aspirational athletes in the area. So, what are the ones that go and see and do?
Oh, there's so many. Obviously, Surf Coast. I think that's a really great entry level one because it's so well supported. That Wonderland is awesome. The Grampians are one of our favourite places. We got married there. It's just really unique place. Anything around Queenstown is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, shot over,
done. Yeah, I've done a few over there now. What else? Oh, obviously UPA.
Oh yeah, that little thing.
That one.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And then there's lots of like little ones in Victoria that are awesome. The smaller events are really fun, like the Very Long Run and Pistol Trails, which is also in the Grampians at the southern end. I really enjoy some of those events as well.
What about Two Bays? That's a bit of a throwdown, right?
Yeah, Two Bays was my first ever trail race, and that's what got me hooked. Everyone was just so happy, and I had so much fun. So that's a great race. But it's never been I've never just got there with that race. One year I had a really good run, and I beat the record, but I got lost for 10 minutes. And someone untapped managed to get in front of me that time, and I was doing.
Oh no. Okay, complete change of topic, but I asked everyone else this, and I think it's a really good one. Like over the past few years, we've had a lot more come out about the value of strength work, and what do you think is the role of strength work for runners, and and what the bang for buck exercises for you with strength work?
Yep. So for me, I'm a body pump instructor, and I've been teaching that for probably 10 years. For me, that was always my strength training once a week, and I found that it was good bang for buck because it was an hour session, full body workout, twice a week. It did the job. And if you can't be bothered, thinking about it, it's a great way for people to just get to a class and be coached through a session. It's quite straightforward. But yeah, I think strength training is really important for runners, particularly for trail runners. You're constantly changing direction, you're using different muscles all of the time, so you need to be conditioned for that and prepared for that. So yeah, probably more recently I've done a bit more individualized focus stuff for myself. I had osteitis pubis for about 3 years. And didn't realise I'd run through the pain for a very long time. And just by adding a few specific exercises that physio gave me and going to the gym to do that, I got rid of it within 6 months, and it was totally fine.
Great. Yeah, I think going to physio is such a game changer for people as well, getting those specific exercises.
Yeah, 100%. And I've always found it'd be great to do stuff at home, but I'm not very good at doing things at home. So it's always better actually making a scheduled time to go to the gym, be in that environment, in that space, and get things done. Obviously, this is a bit of a different time where everyone's had to do things at home, and but it's worth it.
Do you have a question, Karen?
I'm interested because obviously as an athlete and as a coach, we deal with these things all of the time. But one of the common topics, in fact, we've just had a bit of it crop up with some of our athletes is low iron deficiency in endurance runners. Something you've encountered? And if so, how have you dealt with it, or as an athlete and as a coach?
Yep. So me as an athlete, it's never been an issue. I've got a pretty holistic diet. I don't abide by anything except for lots of food and chocolate. So I've been pretty lucky. I think when I got my bloods done a few years ago, my iron was actually too high. So
oh, wow.
Yeah, there's never been a problem. But I've definitely encountered it with my athletes, and I do have some vegan athletes, and it's definitely something that they need to be aware of and affects their performance. And usually they're aware of it before they go and get their blood tested. Like they know that something's not right. But yeah, it's something definitely to keep on top of. And if any of my athletes are not feeling quite right, they're feeling, they're complaining of feeling really tired and things, then I'll request that they go get their bloods done to check that.
How do you work with your athletes with race day nutrition? What's the broad brush statement that you want to make about getting race day fueling correct?
Make sure you do it. It can get hard. As an athlete, I've definitely experienced that. It might be fine for the first 50K, 80K, and then after that, often your body just doesn't want to take anything. But it's teaching your athletes, I guess, to have a variety of different sources, so that when you do get palate fatigue, you've got different options there. It might be setting an alarm if you're someone that's not paying close attention to that. And it's just being able to just get some sort of dribble in, at least you can, get something. I've done some races where I haven't been able to actually eat, but I've managed to get by on Coke and Red Bull or whatever else is available. But I think it's good to have a few different options.
Why is that, do you think? Because obviously you've had races where your nutrition was dialed in and everything was going well, and then you're like, cool, nailed that. And then you go out maybe a year later on the same course, and you're like, I know how to do this. And for some reason, the response is different. What's causing that, do you think?
I don't know. I think there's so many different variables. I think, temperature probably comes into it a lot sometimes. Who knows? I wish I knew the answer to that.
There isn't one, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. You see, I said I'm going to ask you some tough questions. It was put you on the spot. So.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It can be really frustrating when you think you've practiced and you've got it done now, and then it doesn't work. But I think that's just how ultras are. There's so many variables, and you just need to be prepared for that to happen. And I think that's something I always tell my athletes as well: be prepared to not feel like eating and not. It will happen, but you've got to try and do it somehow. Because I experienced it in UTMB last year. I got to a certain point where I just couldn't eat anymore. And Tegan would, was crewing me, and he'd come back, and I still had the 10 gels that he gave me the last time. And he's like, "What are you doing? You need to eat." I'm like, I can't. I just can't. And it's really hard to keep going when you have up a huge mountain. You have had absolutely nothing to take,
What, hypothetically speaking, an athlete's training for Surf Coast 100K, how far are their long runs?
I'd probably get them to do a 50K race at some point. Otherwise, long runs wouldn't go much over the 30 to 40K. It depends on the person and their race history and their build up. But I don't get people doing anything probably much beyond 50K unless it was a race that they really wanted to do.
Sure. It's just something we see crop up a lot. People enter an event and then they're asking for the guidance on, what does their training look like in the distance. So, and I guess our approach is always that it's set by where the athlete is now and then built forwards. Where it ends up is dependent on what that starting point was. But
it's really individualized, so it really depends on the person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. So sponsorship, like obviously you're a Hoka athlete. What are its benefits and its negatives? Like, does it, because you're quite, to me, I don't know if this is how you feel about it, but like I think you're quite a private person generally, and so it must be kind of this weird thing to be like, okay, I've got to put stuff out there, but it's not really my main priority. Or so how do you balance that? And I might even have that wrong, so feel free to correct me. But
I think I wouldn't have said that I'm overly private, but it's more that I'm so busy that I actually spending time on social media. So there's lots of benefits to being a sponsored athlete, and I'm so grateful for all of my sponsors. makes things a lot easier in some ways. But I think I almost need to think of it as a job as well, because you have to dedicate time to posting photos and doing all that other responsibilities that go with it. Because it's a two-way street, not just for take. You need to give some back as well and participate in different things that they've got going.
Do you think being a sponsored athlete and coach affects, in some regard, the message that you give to athletes about, their own journey on using products? I mean, does everyone need to be wearing Hokas?
No, definitely not. I like to think that I'm pretty honest about it, and I wouldn't be associated with brands that I didn't think were great. I've been lucky enough to be associated with all the brands that I actually really love. I've had people approach me in the past about asking for sponsorship, and how do I go about this and that. I'm going to approach Hoka. I say, okay, do you wear Hokas now? No. That doesn't work. You need to actually love something to be associated with.
Yeah,
fair enough. It's a difficult one, and I think we kind of steer clear of it a little bit because
But
also we're not competing.
Oh yeah, we're not competitive athletes. Once upon a time,
you were, not me.
I think there are lots of labels on there, Kellie.
Well, they're only my own, right? They're only.
He's sponsored by Squad.
So I'm dressed by my own merchandise company.
It's just because he's too cheap to go and buy something.
That is correct. There you go.
I'm saying that I wouldn't give my advice, and with the disclaimer saying, yes, I'm sponsored by this company, but I recommend the product because of this and my experience with it.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're lucky in that Hoka do make great shoes, and they make shoes that almost anyone they're just dominant for good reason, right? If they were terrible shoes, they wouldn't be so huge on the running scene. So,
which female do you admire most in the sport, and why?
It's a hard one. But probably all the mums out there, because they have been able to go through childbirth and raising the child and being able to get things in and run and come back strong. And there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, cool. I think that was my last question. Yeah.
What's
the deal?
What's the I don't want to say the top coaches, but the prominent coaches in Australasia, right? You could probably list a few when you spring to mind. Where are all the girls at? Like, there are great female coaches out there, but why does this seem to be such a male-dominated sort of environment?
It's a really good question. I think it stems from the number of female runners probably in the ultra and trail scene to start with. If you go to the start line with the 2 bays 56 different distance, for example, you'll get there, you can go straight into the toilet as a female runner. There is no one waiting, whereas the male line will be 50 deep. So I think it stems from that initially, and that is obviously growing. But we're not seeing that transition in coaching. Perhaps because the females have lots of other commitments and family commitments, and it's changing their culture a little bit. I think is probably what's needed.
Looking at interesting that you mentioned start lines. If we take Ultra Trail Australia, for example, the UTA 22 is predominantly women. The UTA 50 is a pretty much dead even split, and then the UTA 100 becomes mostly men again. What do you think is causing that?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that probably, there's multiple factors. Probably confidence. Women just don't feel confident to give things a go and give long things a go. But also, you get that they've got other family commitments and work commitments, and it's too hard to find the time to train 50Ks every weekend. And don't know.
It's funny you say confidence, but probably common sense is the word that goes there. Right?
All that.
You know that email that arrives in your inbox where someone has gone like, hey, I just entered this really ridiculously huge thing and I'm not doing any training now. What should I do? That's normally from a guy.
I was just about to say that normally, like before a race opens, and you're probably the same, I'll get heaps of messages from women like, do you think I can do this distance? Like, I'm thinking about it. Is it totally crazy? Can I do it? And I'm like, yeah, you boss it. And then you get some guy that's like, oh yeah, I signed up for the 100. And you're like, what, dude? Like, you're running 10K, man. Like, how are we going to build you up to this? So do you find the same thing?
100%. My husband right now, who just signed up ridiculous cycling race, and he's only just started recycling a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I thought of that immediately. It's Tiggs.
What has he signed up for?
Oh, the Della Donna up Donna Buang. I don't know. Doesn't do anything. But if I look at my athletes, I think you're totally correct. Like it's always the men who I have to rein back in and say, actually, no, you're injured. You can't do this. You need to be smart about this. Like, and I'll tell them, if I've had some problems with some recently where, I program something and they go and do double, or they, they're not actually, I'm like, why do you want to coach if you're not actually going to listen? Like, I think the risk awareness there is very different. Yeah.
What do you think? It's an odd environment that we operate in, ultra distance. The fact that people are willing to go out and tear their legs off over the course of a weekend. It's not for the medal. They might say that it's for the medal, but you take something like UTA, they start at Scenic World, they go out for 20 hours of abuse and they come back to Scenic World. It seems like a really unusual thing in the human psyche that people are actively volunteering for this really weird thing, and it's hard to put a finger on why we are doing it. Do you know why?
It's that sense of achievement of doing the impossible. I think, it seems like an impossible task. Everyone else thinks that you're absolutely crazy, but you prove them wrong and you can do it. And lots of people have different motivations. Some just like the seclusion and of being out in the mountains for that long on their own. Others like the sense of achievement. Others like that finish line feeling. For me, I think it's being able to, push the boundaries and, discover more about myself, what I can do.
Yeah, so on the brink of those boundaries often is the extreme fatigue that you get from really, really long events. Does that mean, it's a two-part question, what your favorite distance is, and then, aspirationally, if I've done 100K, do I need to do a 100-miler? And if I've done a 100-miler, is it time to sign up for Delirious West? I mean, what's the progression look like? What do we do?
That's very individual. I can't see myself pushing past 100 miles, depending. That's plenty for me for now. But everyone's different. There's a lot of people that will start out, and the marathon will be that ultimate distance, and then once they get there, and their friends are encouraging them to do an ultra, they might give it 50 a go. So lots of people do progress without actually having that intensity from the start. That grows over time, depending on the community that you're immerse yourself in. 100%. But,
what do you like most of all? What's the fun distance time type thing for you?
Probably around 80 to 100, I think.
That's so funny.
It's the 80K is pretty much the most kind of common answer for ultra runners.
For Tarawera week, we get like all the elite athletes come over. And you ask them, and they're all like, "Oh, I like 50 miles about the sweet spot for me, right?"
Yeah, because I think I really like 50K distance, but when I put myself up against the best in the world over that distance, I'm not very good at it. I can't. I've got no power to climb up those mountains so quickly. So I definitely do better over a longer distance where it comes more up to be up here. But then, it gets to a point where it's pretty like, when UTMB didn't quite go to plan last year and I was out for over 30 hours, that's a pretty long time to be out. So, I think probably around 100.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, and it doesn't necessarily need to be the distance that you're best at. The fact that you enjoy it the most, that can be fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, you might be a great sprinter, but we won't see you on the track anytime soon.
Yeah.
Maybe with a pushchair, with a little buggy stroller thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the world records for 10Ks with a stroller? They're very achievable.
No, they're not. They're ridiculous.
No. You could do
You
them.
already looked, Kelly.
I haven't actually looked, but I've seen a few pop up on Facebook over the years. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw there was a tasty one for guys. It was about 34 minutes for 10K. And I'm like, I could have a crack at that. And then some mug brought it down to like 31 minutes. And I'm like, fine, I'm out.
yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
You'd want to strap that baby in pretty well.
Yeah. I think at the time I remember thinking I was just going to use someone else's kid. That seemed like the best way to do it.
That's a good idea. My dad used to on the bike. He would strap my brother onto the booster seat on the back of the bike with jockey straps. Yeah, that didn't go so well.
No, how the times have changed, eh?
Health and safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that when he was a newborn too? You know, like.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
He panned out okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think we've covered a lot of ground. I think there's a lot of Kelly the athlete, Kelly the coach.
That's all part of it, right? Like it.
Yeah.
People will learn a lot, I think, from listening.
Yeah. Now we just need to hey Kelly, when you get a moment free, just jump in that Trail and Ultra Coach's corner and
actually write something for a change.
I know we genuinely appreciate how busy you are, and including you in that I think was useful for us. In that you've got a really nice, rounded, holistic approach to everything, and what small amount of time that you have to give is greatly appreciated by us and obviously everyone else. So thank you, and thanks for your time today as well. Actually, there's an hour out of the.
It's been cool catching up.
I know. Well, hopefully we're allowed to fly over the ditch sometime soon.
Yeah,
we're in kind of the mountain biking mecca. So if Teagues wants to come over and do some backflips, that's on the cards.
He would love to, for sure. We were actually, we were meant to go down to Tassie over Easter to go mountain biking and do some stuff, but obviously that got canned. So I'm sure he's. Yeah,
we'll have to catch up with him on Zwift for the time being, eh?
Well, I like your version of Zwift, Terry.
What's that?
Your version. Mountain biking version of Zwift.
That was really quite effective and exhausting. Fun things to do in lockdown. It was amazing how much of a virtual reality experience that actually felt like. So worth the setup in the lounge. I'll have to post the link to that video so people can see some of the lockdown shenanigans. Good one. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Kelly. Good luck with the forthcoming weeks and expanding growth.
You want to say?
Yeah. Look at that. Getting beach ball. This is probably the best endurance challenge for you yet. So if you like, expanding your horizons and waistline.
Yeah. We'll go back. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, nice one. All right, thanks for your time. We'll get this up online and link everyone. Enjoy your weekend, Kelly.
Say hi to Teagues too. See you, Kelly.
Bye.
Bye.